to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
We are here today at the Fresno Fairgrounds with Jeff Ahronian, and you're going to tell us some really cool facts about this historical building.
We want everyone to come here and see it. It's open during the fair, which is in October. It's coming up. And there's a lot of things to see. We're on the second floor of the museum, the Fresno County Historical Museum.
What's going on September 3rd?
September 3rd, we're having a special sneak peek of a new exhibit that is going to be at the museum. It's going to be an art exhibit. Really neat. We're going to go down there.
Can anybody go? Or
Anybody can go.
Well,
it's wide open to the public.
Right on.
Let's start up here though first.
Let's start
Let's
with
talk
what
about
is this?
So we enter from the second floor. You go up the stairs, or you can take the elevator. This is you don't know who this is? This is actual size. So,
Jose Ramirez. I love this.
Jose Ramirez, the boxer. We did this, put this together.
So who did the actual sculpture?
I'm not sure. John Alkire arranged it. He's a big boxing fan.
This is good. This is really good.
So the Fresno Fair put all this together, created this really impressive flag display, and Jose was here. He signed gloves. I think he put the gloves somewhere right there. We have a whole area here devoted to local boxing, and it's pretty neat just to come and see it. And then as we enter through these great doors here, we have more interesting things on the walls.
From our circus with Barnum Manley back in the day. I love that.
More boxing stuff. A lot of stuff. Video screens. A lot of interesting material.
Wow, so if we want to just put anything about boxing, we can look at it and find it ourselves. Right. That makes everything.
Videos come out of old fights.
That's so cool.
And my brother and I, Jason, we got involved a few years ago. We did a project. We helped him out on a project. It's the Fresno Courthouse cupola, which is outside there. And we kind of got addicted to helping out at the fair and the museum.
And historical facts at Fresno. I bet you guys learned so much interesting stuff just on the way of just doing the research for one exhibit, and then you're like, oh wow, this happened then.
Right, so the first one we did really was this one for Richard Agopian. He's a famous oud player, and oud is a musical instrument like a guitar in the Armenian, actually it's Middle Eastern culture. But Richard is world famous. Everyone knows him. He's had record albums. He's performed in Vegas, LA, New York. He had a show in Las Vegas for a while. So he's actually getting honored at the Fresno County Music Hall of Fame. He just got put into that the first year. That is so neat.
So is there, okay, so I like how you have the computer thing. Can we look up his music here and listen to it while we look at it?
No, but we will go to the computer over there.
And then we can do it there. That is.
See some, but this would, we thought he should be honored here and recognized.
Definitely.
Because everyone knows him in the community. And
are we coming back to that? Because that looks really cool on the Blossom Trail.
We could.
We'll come back to the Blossom.
This is the most impressive room right here. This is the main room upstairs. All the artifacts are from different businesses and parts of Fresno. Right here we have a bar that was in the old Cosmopolitan restaurant.
Jim, can we ever rent this out to have a party?
You could. Yeah.
Do people do that?
I think you could rent it out. I think it'd be a great party. People have events up here all the time.
Definitely.
Let's go back this way.
Love it.
This is from the old courthouse. The old courthouse that was in downtown. And they took all the items, they were being stored somewhere. They took them and preserved them here. We have the jury where they would sit, where the attorneys would sit, where the judge would sit. And then we have some other items. You can see some pictures of them demolishing the courthouse and the cupola. A lot of history there on the wall.
We want to get into a little bit of the history for viewers.
Well, I'm not an expert on this, but I think they were trying to modernize things in the late 60s, and I think looking back, they probably made a mistake taking down this courthouse because look at how impressive it was.
Yes, very much.
If you go to other cities, Sacramento, and
You get to see their old courthouses.
yeah, maybe they would have expanded it, but here they knocked the whole thing down. They preserved the top part, which is outside, and it's lit up at nights.
Oh, I bet that looks beautiful.
It's pretty neat. So then we have some more stuff on the walls here about Leon Peters, who's a pretty famous Fresnan, very charitable person. And he had a business called Valley Foundry. And Leon Peters Foundation, when he passed away, they're very charitable. And he's Armenian, actually. So he's highlighted in our...
So his mom was Armenian. He didn't get the last name.
No, he had to change his name. We will get
That's
more to
what we
that
were talking
a little
about.
bit
This
later.
is very interesting. Okay.
He came from a village in the Ottoman Empire in Armenia, and became very successful when he came to Fresno. He was probably born, I don't know the exact year, but I'm thinking early 1900s, and his company was world famous. And there's a lot of stuff showing what they had done.
What about some of these things right here?
That's some of the original Valley Foundry molds.
That is so
It was donated by the Peters family. So what they used to do were these big vats that they would sell to wineries. Gallo bought a lot of them, and other wineries, and that's how they would make wine. I don't know if they have pictures of any of that here, but here's some of it right here. So in 2018, my brother and I worked on this project. It took us about a year, and we put a lot of time into it, a lot of effort. But we were very happy with the finished product of it. It's the early Armenian history in Fresno County. And what we did was we wanted to tell a story of what it was like with our ancestors coming here around the turn of the century. And we have a timeline here talking about the different things that happened. The first Armenians came here in the 1880s. That's when they started settling here. Fresno County was very small at the time. And there probably wasn't even 10,000 people here in the whole county. And
Wow.
my ancestors, they settled in Sanger, Fowler, places out in the country. They were farmers. I believe your family immigrated from
Right.
the East Coast. I don't know when they got to Fresno or Sanger. Your family's from Sanger. And they started businesses. And there's just a lot of history here. So as Fresno was growing, the Armenian community grew, and a lot of these people that were here,
On this wall.
they became very famous worldwide, and we thought it was important to put them in this exhibit. And we have maps of where everybody came from. We call this the old country, but there's a map of all the villages where a lot of these families came from. Now, what was going on back then were massacres. They were getting massacred by the people that lived in the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, and they fought for years. So our family actually came over in the 1890s, settled on the East Coast, then came over, and then they had the genocide. You hear about the Armenian genocide, but there was massacres happening before that. 1915 was when the genocide officially started.
Yeah, like for about 20 years before that's when it really started to get.
People were getting killed and massacred, and that they were leaving all these areas. And you can see on the map, I mean, there were hundreds of thousands of people in these villages. And then after the genocide,
And then we have some genocide
Some of them
photos
were
over here.
zero, and they wiped out these areas. They don't even exist anymore. That's a whole other subject. We wanted to focus on the positive things.
That's why it's on this wall. You can't see a lot of the
That's
war
part of the
pictures
story.
are on this wall.
It's
but
part of the
Yeah,
story.
you have to know it.
So we have photos, Sparkle, from the 1920s, 1930. Here's the first family that came to Fresno, the Sorokian brothers, 1881. The first Armenian born in California, 1884, Jonathan Sinanian. That's my mom's family, 1920. They were at a picnic on the Kings River. So very interesting. My grandfather's in there, great-grandfather. Then we have Emerson's Grammar School. That was a school in old Armenian town in downtown. The area doesn't really exist anymore, but we have a map of it where everybody lived. And this is Holy Trinity Church. That's still there. But the freeway went in there, and then they developed everything around it. Sound Arena, Convention Center, that's all over here. But this used to be called Old Armenian Town.
That's crazy. Like this picture was taken in 1915 when the genocide started. So that, they escaped, and over here, they're making things happen. So that's really cool.
Yeah, most of those kids were in that photo. Most of those kids were Armenian because they lived in this area, and that's where the school was. So here on the map, you can see Emerson School. Who lived right there? Kurt Kerkorian. You know who that is? Have you ever heard of Kurt Kerkorian?
Yes, tell our viewers about who that is.
Well, actually, I'm going to show you.
We're going to show them.
So we have a website that is part of this exhibit. It's called ArmeniansFresno.com, and all this information that's on the screens here, you can actually access over the internet. So it has information on agriculture, churches, commerce and business, entertainment and the arts, history, monuments and places, clubs, organizations. So Kirk actually was a business person. And if you click on his photo, you can hear about him. Kirk Kerkorian, a real rags to riches story. Born in Fresno into modest means, a high school dropout, he parlayed a Las Vegas charter flight business consisting of a single airplane into one of the world's greatest fortunes. In 2008, Forbes ranked him as the 41st richest person in the world. Some of his crown jewels, MGM Grand Film Studios, and over half the hotels and casinos on the Las Vegas Strip. Also known for his great generosity, his charitable foundation has provided over $1 billion of support to various charities. So he went to Las Vegas in the 1960s before really anyone knew what Vegas was, and he built this casino, the International, which is still there. It's called the Westgate. It was the first it was the largest hotel in the world at the time. And then he built MGM, and MGM's a huge company. They own New York, Bellagio, so on and so forth. So
isn't it neat how they really made it other places? They still came back and supported Fresno.
He was a big supporter throughout the years. A lot of things anonymously. So here's some information on agriculture. And we went back to we want to focus on the early history. So this is 1880s to 1920s. And we'd like to expand the exhibit at some point, maybe add later years. But
that is a great photo. The girl with the watermelon.
So one of the donors to the project, and his family's mentioned quite a bit, gave us a lot of these photos. And there's the raisin industry was just starting up during this time period, and the melons and fig industry. And if you think back, they had to do things that that had a shelf life. So raisins, instead of doing grapes, they focused on raisins because they could store them and dry them. And same thing with figs. Melons, that was a little bit different. That had a shorter shelf life, so you had to grow them and sell them. But you really didn't have ways to store things, transport things. It was a little bit different back in the early 1900s. The churches are interesting. I think everyone that can come to the wall and they could say, oh, yeah, my family went to that church, or goes to that church. So the first churches here were started in the 1890s. The Holy Trinity Church in downtown, that was founded in 1900. The original church burned down. So the St. Gregory Armenian, we talked about the Holy Trinity Church, which was started in 1900, and then the brick church built in 1914. But the Fowler Church, that's the second oldest church structure, Armenian Apostolic, in the whole country. So there's one on the East Coast that's still standing, that was a little bit older. But the Fowler one is the second oldest because it was built in 1910. And it's his original church. They've expanded it over the years, but that was there in 1910.
Wow.
And I had relatives that actually helped build it. So there's a tremendous amount of history. Even the church in Yedim was founded in 1911. And Yedim means Eden in Armenian. Actually, if you look on the map, have you ever been to Yedim?
I have not been to Yedim.
All right, there's an area on the map that says Yedim, and that's, I think, the only Armenian word in the whole, any map you'll ever find in America with an Armenian. It's not a city, but it's an area. And then, of course, we have some old photos that were given to us by various people picking figs, and I used to pick them with poles, and that's the old Valley Lavash Baking Company, which is still there. I think they just celebrated their 100th year. And then over here, the very last thing we did was we talked about some of the last names. So a lot of the names had to be changed because, let's face it, there was discrimination going on at the time, and a lot of these Armenians that had businesses had to change their name because people didn't want to do business with them. So my grandfather actually was one of them, Tucson. The name was Tusugian. They had to change it to Tucson because they had a packing house. Their logos on the wall there. But there's a lot of names on it. Peters, we talked about them earlier.
Right.
Leon Peters. But a lot of these names you'll recognize if you go through it. And of course, all this is on the website, talking more about it. But there's a lot of information here. I just encourage everyone if they can't make it to the fair, then go to the website, www.armeniansfresno.com. You can learn all about this on the website.
Can people still donate money for this exhibit, or are you guys expanding it?
You can donate it to the fair. It's called Friends of the Fair, and you can designate that you want it to go to the Armenian exhibits, and it would go to. So we have to. All this costs money, so we have to maintain it, upkeep it. We add things to the websites, maybe change something around on the wall. So it's all. We're always looking forward to donations, and we will acknowledge you. If you give a donation, you will be acknowledged. But we're always encouraging people to donate. It's a 501c. It's a charitable entity, so if you're looking to donate, I think it's a great place to donate to.
That's great. Thank you so much for showing us upstairs. Should we go downstairs?
We're going to go downstairs and take a look at that area.
So now we're going to go to the downstairs exhibit.
I'll follow you.
I like how there's so many things to look at over here. What's this one? The basketball team?
Fresno High School from 1914, the girls' basketball team. A lot of people don't know that there's an upstairs to this museum. So we have to tell people that there's a sign, but
This is so awesome.
so this is the downstairs part. I think they're working on something back there, but we have a lot of different, let's say, cultural exhibits here. So there's one from the Mexican-American community right here. There's one from the Japanese-American community. Mono Indian tribe put this together. Alfred Indian Heritage Collection. There's a really neat looking fire truck there. You look good next to that with your yellow dress. Put the fire out.
Oh, wow. So at what year was this?
This is probably like early 1915, maybe? Wow, this goes way back.
Oh, wow.
This is worth coming to the museum just to see this, right? And world's largest sugar pine tree. So here's the, they used to bring lumber down from, a lot of it came from Sanger.
Really? I did not know that. There's a lot of Sanger lumber.
And they have these huge, I think they call them flumes, where the lumber would come all the way down from Sanger, where they would cut it down, and then come all the way down to the valley, where they would do what they did do it. There's some interesting cars, 1910, 1912. Fresno Athletic Hall of Fame has an exhibit here. Some interesting items. They're also going to have their headquarters at the Safe Art Center.
Oh, wow.
So they're working on that right now, the Safe Art Center. But this is an exhibit they put together. This is another interesting person from Fresno. His name was Franky Gonzalez, and he had an autorama show every year for a while. And he had a lot of different cars, and he was pretty famous around there. He passed away recently.
Oh, who made this sculpture of him?
I'm not sure who made it, but that would be Blackie.
I did get to drive one of his cars one time. He was a very good family
Oh, really?
friend. We called him Uncle Blackie, and so yes, he did.
Oh, so you know about him?
Yes, he did let me drive one of the cars.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. I was very nervous because I was a teenager at the time.
How many cars did he have? Do you know?
Oh no, because I always getting different ones. But yeah, he let me drive the Prowler.
Well, you have some good roots
Just
in this area.
like you, Dad. And comfort. Wow, this is so cool.
There's a lot of, you probably didn't know this place existed, did you?
I did not. I've never been in it like here, so no,
Pretty
this is
interesting.
different. Yeah, this is really great to see. So do you get to go in here or no? You just
No,
watch
that's closed up. If you went in there, they'd lock the door on you, and then you'd be stuck.
it? This is so cool. So these are all the original uniforms.
And they have an audio tour, so when you come in during the fair time, you can actually
Really?
put on earphones.
Okay, so what happens with all this during the non-fair time? Like you're having that event coming up, but then what else? If people wanted to see this at different times, they can. Or they
Yeah,
schedule it? How
you
does
could
that
try
work?
to schedule it with the fair. And John Alkire would be the person you would contact.
So maybe like if people were traveling from another country, like if our meetings were coming, they wanted to see some of this,
Yeah.
maybe they would be able to.
The groups are welcome. They love it when groups come in and they can show off the museum.
That's really great. Oh wow, look at these older things.
Yeah, these are some old motorcycles.
And so what's happening on the third? Which one's
We're
going in there?
This,
Oh,
we're going into the special room
so
here.
nobody's been in here yet.
Nobody's been.
Oh wow, I love going to places no one's been.
So there's
Whoa.
different exhibits in here. There's a Seek exhibit. There's some computer screens like we have upstairs, but these are on Fresno history, Fresno County history. The Germans from Russia actually have a new exhibit right here. The computer monitors are up. You probably heard about the Italian exhibit. This was last year. And they have a new exhibit, which has a lot of information on it. Pretty good exhibit. There's more over here. The
Bunch of
bombs.
wine bottles up here. This is pretty. And
Oh, yeah.
whoever painted the ceiling's really cool.
I think they're empty wine bottles. Gotta watch out. Is that what they have on top of the Sistine Chapel, I think, right? Is that what that is, a replica?
I did go to the Sistine Chapel. That's nice. This is so cool.
But back here, so this is the first time anyone's been back. This is a room that was part of the kitchen, and they didn't use it as the kitchen, so they decided to convert it to museum space. So last year, someone that saw our website that we had up there, the Armenian website, searching for their relative, they saw the website and they said, hey, this would be a great place to donate his artwork. So they contacted us through the website, and then we dealt with her a little bit, the fair and the museum, and they decided to accept the donation she made of the artwork. And it was Varas Samoyan's artwork. All the stuff she was given to him when he passed away. He passed away, he didn't have kids. And he was born in 1917. There's a little bit about him. I'm going to put on the wall. We're finalizing the exhibit. It's not quite ready. And he died in 95, and he donated some of his stuff to Armenia, to charity. There's a museum there that he has a lot of his work in. He donated some of it to Fresno State, and then his niece got the rest of it, and that's who contacted us and wanted to give it to this museum.
That is so great.
So I'm going to take you inside. There's all the paintings are on the wall.
Oh my, so it's all him, every single thing.
Yeah, this is a really interesting exhibit of his work. So this is just part of it. This is all we can fit on the walls, but there's a lot more to see. And
really? Wow.
different styles, really. We want to tell the story of Varas, because he's probably the most famous artist and sculptor Fresno's ever had. And he has a really interesting background that people they probably don't know about. So he was born in Armenia after the genocide happened.
Oh, wow.
And he grew up really poor, extremely poor. And his mom died when he was 7. And he didn't really have a great childhood growing up. So then the World War II started, and he joined the Russian army. So he was part of the Russian army fighting the Germans, the Nazi Germans. And then after that, after the war, actually he was wounded, put in a concentration camp, German concentration camp, as a Russian prisoner. And then he escaped the camp. And then he joined the French resistance, the American army. The war ended. He went to Paris and lived for a while, and that's where he learned how to paint. He learned from some of the big, famous French artists at the time. So he has some different styles here. Like this one over here kind of looks like Picasso, that brightly colored one. And then his relatives got him to move to San Francisco, where he lived. He had a brother, Carol Samoyan Ganella, that's who donated these pieces. Her dad was the one who got him to come to America. And then he found his way to Fresno, and he met William Saroyan, and they were really good friends for a while. And they did a book together. And
wow.
A lot of his time was spent in Fresno. And he had a museum and
This is so. Does this have something to do with the genocide? This is to do with war.
So this whole wall, this is a very dark wall.
Right.
It's all about his experiences in the concentration camp.
Oh my.
And it's not really, it's just pretty dark images here. Some of this stuff, you can tell, like, what the heck was going through his head, but, he probably saw a lot of this stuff in the camps, and then he was told stories about what his family went through, the massacres and the genocides. I think it all just came out into the artwork. A lot of these were done, I think, in the 1950s and 60s. A lot of these works, and they're all black and white. And he did a book that has all this stuff in the book. It's his autobiography. And every one of these is in the book. He talks about it. So actually some of it, this is an Armenian one, actually. So that's not Nazi Germans, but that's a famous person from Armenia, Vartan. Have you heard of the Knights of Vartan?
Yeah.
That's Vartan. And he's fighting the Persians. This is when they were fighting for it to stay a Christian nation. It was the first Christian nation. And the Persians were trying to stop that. And the Armenians lost the battle, but they were so brave that he let them remain Christian, the Persian king. So that goes way back, but a lot of this other stuff is about the Nazis and how bad they were, what he saw. But then he also switched gears pretty fast. And he did a book on Paris, because he's lived in Paris for a while. So there's quite a few of these. Very colorful, bright pictures, landmark photos, Eiffel Towers in there, things that he saw when he was there. And then there's, over here, he did a bunch of circus drawings with watercolors. He did these later on, like in the late 70s.
Maybe he was
early
getting
80s.
happier.
He said a lot of this stemmed from his childhood, remembering things, remembering going to the circus, but then seeing the circus every year when it came to Fresno. Because he lived right by Selma Marina, that's where the circus was, so he would walk over. So we're going to have plaques up, placards, and
That are going to be more descriptive of the year. And
that's
stuff.
what we're working on still. So we're not 100, but on September 3rd, when the public gets to see this, a special sneak peek, it'll all be done. We'll have the placards up. I think it'll tell the story about him. And there's different scenes here, like
I love this.
Paris. And
I honestly love this more than the Mango exhibit.
well, this is actual art.
Yeah, so that's why I love this more than the fact that it's going to be, you're going to have those other people that tell a little bit of the story and then kind of look back at it. So when you have the computers that you can go and look at stuff, is there going to be a little bit more to be descriptive on this one for this exhibit?
That's part of it. We're working on that too. They're going to try to put all that information on the computer. And there's a cost to that, obviously, and time.
Well, that's why people need to donate.
That's
This
right.
is a really good cost to donate to getting our history. So
This is him, actually. This is that's him right there. He did a self-portrait of
Wow.
himself. And that was an interesting one. I don't know what he's trying to say with it. I don't know why he says stop, but only he will know that. You can't ask him. This is him as well, right here. This is him painting.
I know you're very busy, but are you open to the public like DMing you on like social media to ask you like certain things or questions if they have any?
Yeah, sure.
Where are we now?
Well, we're outside. The museum is right there. Came outside. And this is the Paul Theater. This is where they have concerts during the fair. And Paul was an Armenian, born in Fresno. He had to change his name, last name, but he was Armenian, Paul. And outside here is very interesting because there's all these old signs that they've restored, these neon signs. So at night, these things are lit up, bright colors.
And then that was the courthouse top that we were talking about earlier.
There's the original courthouse cupola. That's lit up at night. But these signs are really neat to see at night.
Was that one of our drive-ins, the Mars?
Mars Drive-In. You never went there? I think that's before your time.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think I went there.
Where Fresno and California intersect.
Thanks for coming on my show today.
It's my pleasure.
So tell our viewers what you do.
Well, my name's Franky Gonzalez, and I am running for election for the mayor of Sanger position. I'm a retired Air Force Master Sergeant, and I just figured Sanger needs to be put back on the right direction, and you know what, I'm running for mayor to do that.
So you had served 2 terms. Tell us about what you did in that time.
Well, the first 2 terms, the first time I got elected was in 2016, and then I ran unopposed in 2018. But when I was first elected mayor, there was a few stalled projects, so to say, that were on the books in the city of Sanger. And that's one of the first things when I got elected. I wanted to get those done because they're already funded. They're ready to move forward. One of them being the monument sign on State Route 180. That one was on hold for about 6 years, and so when I became mayor, I was like, well, let's get it done. It's a sign. We should be able to do this fairly easy. So we got that done within probably the first month when I became mayor, and then it's just what happens is you get on the council, and when you work as a team, you can get all these things done fairly quickly. And the next one was Academy Corridor. It was fixing the existing road. It had already been funded, and it was probably about a mile's worth of Academy that went through the city of Sanger, kind of by the chuck wagon. I don't know, everybody else knows where the chuck wagon is. So that was that road there, and there was some land issues that we got resolved fairly quickly and got that passed. And that was probably stalled for about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So those were the 2 main things when I came on board.
You got the ball rolling.
Yes, I said, what can we do that's already there? I mean, the ball's on the tee. Let's just knock it out of the park.
Right.
Let's get at it. Another one was the Veterans Park. Now the developer had already donated the land for a park. And the city of Sanger, we didn't quite have enough money to complete the entire thing. So, we sat as a council and said, well, what can we do? We have enough money to do this in phases. So we started the first phase, and that was another thing that was done within the first year that I was there. And, just these little things that needed to get done that were just kind of stalled by small things. We were able to get pushed through, and I think that was a kind of a major feather in our cap, so to say, because Sanger has a big veteran population, me being one of them, and it was really good to see. There was a lot of veteran groups came out. We had the ribbon cutting and unveiled phases 2 and 3 and what they were going to look like conceptually. And everybody's just real excited. Was excited about that part, coming to fruition. And then one last thing was the annexation of land from where the Sanger City boundaries are now to reach the State Route 180. And us as a council thought that would be a boon for Sanger, because that 180 sits a little farther than a mile from the actual city limits of the city of Sanger. So what we're doing now is moving the city limits all the way out to the 180, so we could have that at our back door. And we're hoping that it'll attract more businesses, more housing, and things like that. So, cross my fingers. I hope it's going to work. But all the studies we did, everything is positive. We did a hotel study out there, and it came back positive. Yes, Sanger can sustain a hotel if we get out to that 180 mark. But so we're super close to completing that.
Where would the hotel be?
Probably right there on the 180 in Academy.
That'd be the best.
That's the major thoroughfare and corridor for the city of Sanger. And one of the surprising things when they did this hotel study, I thought it was going to be people that come from out of town and they just want to stay with their relatives and what have you. That was going to fill the hotel. But that study revealed that the majority of the people that are going to stay there are for tourism reasons. And I never really thought of Sanger as a tourism town, but if a lot of people travel through that Academy corridor and also on the 180 to go up to the mountains at the Sequoias and you know, General Grant tree where the nation's Christmas tree is. And I don't know if you knew this, Sanger's the nation's Christmas tree city.
To get them, or that when
No.
it's so they sell the most Christmas trees?
No,
from
it's actually not Christmas trees. It's just one tree, the General Grant tree.
Love that.
That is the nation's Christmas tree, and we're the stewards of that tree.
Wow, you learn something new every day. I did not know that.
Yes. So we are the nation's Christmas tree city.
That is so cool.
Right, right.
So people go there to look at that every year?
People go there a lot. People go to Pine Flat Lake. People, you know, go through Sanger to get to Shaver Lake.
Is the tree decorated during Christmas?
No, it's a giant sequoia. So that thing.
So no one can get up on there to do that, because that'd be pretty impressive. That would just be like one big ladder to be. That is really cool. I love that. And so this is a lot of cool things you've done. And then the last term, somebody else went in there.
Right.
And then things have been happening. What do you want to restore this time around? That's been some of the problems you've noticed in Sanger.
Well, the main thing is, and I think that the number one job for the city of Sanger is public safety.
Crime has risen.
I don't know if it's risen, but the rank and file of our police and fire department have significantly shrank. We're losing officers. You know, when I was there, that it was fully staffed, and now it's not. And I think it comes from an attitude of, well, if they want to go somewhere else, you can go. And I'm like, that's not the right attitude.
So then you need paid more?
What you know, every city's competing, right, for everything.
Right.
Services, retail shops, housing, school districts. We're all in a competition, and I think that to compete, you know, yeah, if that's one of the things that we have to do is pay a little bit more, then you know what, that's what we're going to have to do, or we're going to continue to bleed our ranks dry, and having a new set of people constantly is not a good thing, because then you get basically new people training new people. You know, rookies try to train rookies, and you need that cadre of experienced police officers and fire department personnel to, you know, properly train your new guys coming in.
We just had Jim Deaver's widow on the show a couple of weeks ago, and they're trying to raise money for the and so they're trying to raise money for, you know, their fund. And so those are some of the things I noticed that the community is coming together to do. What are some other things that you think the community can come together to do to raise money for these positions?
That one is a great one. Jim Deaver was actually my football college.
Really?
My football.
So you have a lot of
coach.
Stories, huh?
Yes, yeah. He was an awesome dude. I really enjoyed being around him. That's a really good organization. Sanger, the city of Sanger Police Department just started a new group. They're called the Sanger Police Foundation. Now they're going to start having fundraisers also, and it's to help fund, you know, part of their training and a lot of community outreach and you know, some of the specialized equipment they're going to need, which I think the city should take care of anyway. But you know, I just felt like they needed to get on that initiative and make their own, you know, make their own money to do these kind of specialized things for the community. And they have a dinner. They just had their first one this year.
Really?
Yep. They had their inaugural dinner. I went. It was a good time. And I'll continue to go to support Socorro and the Deaver Foundation. I think I've been every year since their inception also.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if you win this round, what are some of the other things you want to do? So targeting safety, getting our police, getting our fire. What else is the next goal, the next plan?
The next plan is, you know, the city is number one, safety. Two, you know what, you got to have utilities. People have to have clean water. You know, when they flush the toilet, it goes where it needs to go. You know, stuff like that. Roads, just kind of the infrastructure stuff. And one of the first things I'm looking at doing is with the water issue is to be a little bit more proactive in, maintaining our water system. Because I don't know if you know, the last 2 years, the city of Sanger water system was really impaired by a few wells to where some of the citizens couldn't get any water to come out into their houses. And I was a mechanic in the Air Force, and preventive maintenance is probably one of the the things you do like every single day, just to stop that catastrophic failure kind of thing. You got to hit it off before it becomes that big of a problem. And just being proactive instead of reactive.
So what had happened at that point? Where did it get all neglected for that to have happened?
Well, it's just kind of an ongoing thing. Some of them just need to be rehabbed, and a lot of it comes down to money. And I'm looking at, okay, if these need to be refurbished, rehabbed, or replaced, we're going to have to use emergency funds, because not having water is kind of an emergency. Right. Yeah. So that is kind of where I'm going to be going with my campaign is get out there get in front of these problems before they happen, and reacting to them, is good. But when there's a brewery out in Sanger, and when he doesn't have enough water, I mean, beer is 97% water, and it's like those kind of businesses are seriously impacted, as well as families that are trying to feed their kids or bathe them, or just gets drinking water out of the faucet. Those kind of things are bigger problems than Sanger really needs to have.
So what happened to the people that didn't get their water when all of that went down?
Well, they were without water for a while, and then the council went back and decided to just take them pallets of water, and if whoever needed it, come and get it, that kind of thing. Which, again, awesome. Thank you, City of Sanger, for providing water for those guys, but that's one of those things that are a reactive kind of thing. It's like, okay, the water system failed, and that shouldn't happen. It's one of those things that's just an ongoing thing. Where I'd hate to use kicking the can down the road kind of thing, but right. Cities like Sanger, we just don't have that big wealth of money. We're actually considered a poorer city, so we have to really put our money where the best places to be. And you know what, now it's looking back, it's like, yeah, we need to put some more money into our infrastructure and water.
Well, you have a lot of challenges ahead. So.
Yeah, I'm ready. But being in the Air Force for 22 years, it really kind of trained me to rise in the face of adversity, and fix problems. I used to always say this: don't stand in that problem line over here, guys. We need to be in the solution line, and get things done instead of just standing and, okay, here's the problem. Okay, that's fine, but you know what? We need solutions now. Not just stand in that line and hopefully something will happen, but because it's not.
And so what can the community do to help you and support you?
The biggest thing, and I tell them all the time, is just be patient, because a lot of these things, they just don't happen overnight. It's gonna take a while. I know there's a lot of road construction going on in the city of Sanger right now, and
that have been going on for quite some time.
There's been going on. A lot of it got pushed back because of COVID. I know in 2020, when I was still mayor, that's when COVID hit, and a lot of these little projects got pushed back. Because it was only supposed to last for a couple of weeks, and then, yeah, we all know it was like a 2-year-old ordeal, and all these things are just starting to come back online. So, and there's just some things out there. Sparkle, like the annexation project that I kind of started, the veterans project that I started. I just want to see, through to fruition and just make Sanger a better place. They always say you leave a place better than when you found it, and that's basically what I want to do.
What are some of the things you want to see grow, like as far as businesses? What would you like to see grow in Sanger?
I'd like to see more businesses get attracted to our downtown area, because we do have little shops and stuff there, but we need a more diverse business downtown. I mean, we have a lot of really good people and Sanger people that open business there, but I think to make it a more vibrant downtown, I think we need to attract some more businesses down there. There's a couple more restaurants, because I know one just moved in, but that's the only one that's there.
Do we only have one restaurant downtown?
Yeah.
Really? And you said there's a brewery.
Yeah.
How long has that been around?
The brewery's been around about 7 years, and they used to have a tap room in Clovis, and then they opened up a tasting room at their actual brewery, in their warehouse, which I always thought was kind of cool. I mean, you're in a warehouse basically out there drinking beer, and we used to sit on bags of like grain. that was the seating, pallets and grain, and then little circle and just sit there and drink beer. But it's called the House of Pendragon.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you heard of it. The guy that runs it is his name's Tommy Caprillion, and he does a really, really good job. I hope he stays and flourishes in the city of Sanger.
We were just talking about that actually, so about that particular brewery. And then my friend is opening a brewery there, Mark Dyson. I know he's trying to open up a brewery in Sanger as well.
Oh, really?
So
what's it called?
I'd have to look at it. I have the hat and everything. He gave me a hat, but his name's Mark Dyson. I'll look it up and let you know, because it's not open yet. So if I was going there and drinking, I would have remembered it. So those are some of the things. What about the schools? How do you feel like the schools are doing right now in Sanger?
The schools are, I have always heard very good things about that. When I became mayor, I started kind of looking into the school district a little bit more, only because I didn't know, and this is a lot of things you kind of find out as, when you become mayor. I thought the city and the school districts were, kind of work together, but it's two different entities. The school district is the school district, and the city is the city. But I did look into the school district, and I did see that they weren't only regionally recognized nor state recognized, but nationally recognized. Right.
There's some really good programs in Sanger schools.
And that was kind of the crown jewel when we would go to these business vendors, and from all over the world, and that was one of the things that we would bring up right away is, hey, we have a nationally recognized school system, you guys, and then we need your business to come in here, So that's the way we kind of pitched the city of Sanger, and that was one of the I guess the bright spots, and of being in Sanger.
And do you guys work together really well with like the Fresno mayor? And trying to like overcome some of the challenges.
No, we don't like the Fresno mayor.
I had the mayor earlier here. She was saying you guys all get together and then try to have some solutions. So how is that going for Sanger?
You know what? Since I'm not part of that anymore, I can only speak to my experience.
Right.
And that's exactly what it is. There is a council of governments. It deals solely with transportation issues, and that's when every mayor in Fresno County goes. And the initial meeting, that's what it is. But you always stay around and talk after, and kind of bounce ideas off each other, and kind of see what they're doing. What are you doing with your downtown? How'd you get yours to look so good? Stuff like that. And so all the mayors are trying to work together. I know I was a part of it was called the 5 Cities Economic Development Committee, something like that. But anyway, it was just the east side cities, and we were trying to trying to market ourselves to make us look more attractive to more businesses. Because, you know, Sanger has like 27,000 people. And, but with all these 5 cities, you know, joined in this group, now we have 100,000 people in the 5-city area. And that includes Fresno, Parlier, Kingsburg, Fowler, Selma. I think there's actually 8 because we can't count. I don't know, but.
So everyone's working together
Yes.
to work on all these issues.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good. You seem to have a good team. I hope that you win. Everyone needs to vote for you. Is that the
Thank
problem?
you.
Do you see a lot of people not voting? Because that's always the problem that I've kind of seen is a lot of the voters aren't getting out there.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the case everywhere. You know, you see, you know, somebody win in the city of Sanger in a district, and like 300 people voted for them. You know, it seems like there's a lot more that are registered, but you know, just kind of getting the word out, and you know, now it's kind of easy, I guess, to vote. I didn't see the problem anyway going to a poll and marking the box, but yeah.
What's your website? So if people want to see your speaking engagements and where you're going to be, are you active on social media? Or?
I'm active on social media. All of my handles are Franky G for Mayor. That's FRANKY G, the number 4 Mayor. And I have a website. It'd be .com. My Facebook page is Franky G for Mayor. Twitter, Instagram, and they could go on any of those and find out. I have contact info on there for if you want to email me. Same thing, Franky G for Mayor at Yahoo.
And you're great at it, yeah. So people can come to you, ask questions. That's what's great about social media. Now people can just kind of come to you and be like, hey, you know, this issue, that issue, if they have a question, comment, concern.
Exactly. But I have a phone number on there too. They could always call me.
Oh, wow.
I don't mind answering the phone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great mayor. You just give your phone number. What's your phone number?
Anytime I give it. Oh, hold on. Let me find it. It's a campaign number. And I got it just so I could talk to people if they want to call me anything about the campaign that's coming up. You know what? Give me a call. And that number is 559-618-6558.
Awesome. So give him a call
So call me.
or shoot him an email. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
You bet. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh, I must confess, dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend, playing pretend, playing pretend, ooh, playing pretend.
It's a mystery.